You're the holder of the world's reserve currency and you're the safe haven for the world. All rich people in the world want to invest in the United States because it's safe, because we don't just take people's shit because we don't like them. We have a process. If you start doing that, then the rest of the world's like, wait a second, you're not what I thought you were. I want to get out of dollars. I want to, for example, form a massive global coalition of nations that are not aligned, and we'll do our own thing. It's called BRICS, and it now represents most of the world's power. That's just a fact. So, like, we just ended American dominance in a bunch of different sectors, or began the process of ending it. And I don't even think most Americans know that. Like, the consequences of what the Biden administration did in February of 2022 will be things that your grandchildren have to deal with.
Do you believe that there can be uh, two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist?
I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that a lot of the world is just done with the dollar as their reserve currency. And I think that there's a lot of places that are willing to try something else. And one of my scenarios, and I don't think it's going to play out quickly, but like one of my wild case success scenarios for a digital asset is if countries start to realize that the US dollar is not going to be the reserve currency forever. Other things are going to be the reserve currency. And the same thing that we saw with banks. Like people, when we started selling software to banks, people would say to me, why would a bank use something that like you guys were selling them when they could use something that was like made by banks? And what they didn't realize is that, only like 10 banks in the country on the planet are Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan Chase, like the ones who would build a system that the entire planet would run on. For the rest of the banks, that's 6,000 smaller banks. Those are their biggest, strongest competitors. Those are the entities they hate the most. They would not want to use the system built and maintained by them because it's going to be biased in favor of them, their biggest and strongest competitors. And I think the same thing could happen to nations. Like every nation would love for their currency to be the world reserve currency. That's helped the US, that's grown the US economy, quote unquote, unfairly by leaps and bounds for decades. And every other country would be like, yeah, we'd like to have the world be the world's reserve currency. But the only countries that could possibly pull it off is the US holding its position, maybe the EU, maybe Russia, maybe one or two others. But realistically, most countries know that if there's going to be a new world reserve currency that's a country's currency, it's not going to be them. And so they might actually prefer a currency that nobody can control to one that's controlled by their largest geopolitical rivals. And so that's like what I think is the biggest possible success scenario for digital assets. If these countries are like, okay, well, the US dollar can't hold on forever, but it's not going to be our currency because no one's going to want to repeat the US dollar scenario. Nobody but the EU wants the EU to replace the dollar, right? Nobody but Russia wants the ruble to replace the dollar. Nobody but China wants the yuan to replace the dollar. So maybe they could settle on a currency that nobody could control rather than one controlled by their most powerful geopolitical rival. So if you want a success scenario, that's the one that I think is the most likely.
But the money question is, how do you get everybody to agree?
Well, I mean, they might agree if the alternative is that their geopolitical rivals force some new replacement for the dollar that's not, if they just replace, the old boss with a new boss. If the choice is no boss, if that happens to make a bunch of cryptocurrency people rich, I don't think they're going to see that as too much of a minus.
Once upon a time, the world of finance underwent a seismic shift as XRP, the digital currency developed by Ripple, emerged from the shadows to become a global powerhouse. The year was 2025, and what started as a promising technology had evolved into a financial revolution. It all began with a series of strategic partnerships that Ripple forged with major banks and financial institutions around the world. These partnerships brought legitimacy to XRP and established it as a preferred digital asset for cross-border transactions. The speed and cost-effectiveness of XRP transactions quickly made it an attractive alternative to traditional banking systems. As more and more financial institutions adopted XRP, its value soared. The digital currency became a staple in global trade, enabling businesses to conduct transactions with unprecedented efficiency. The technology behind XRP's success, the Ripple Net, revolutionized the way money moved across borders, eliminating the need for intermediary banks and reducing transaction times to mere seconds. Governments, recognizing the potential of XRP to stimulate economic growth, started to integrate it into their financial systems. Several countries adopted XRP as part of their official currency reserves, further legitimizing its status as a global financial instrument. As XRP reached new heights, its impact on traditional banking systems was undeniable. Financial institutions that initially resisted the rise of digital currencies were forced to adapt or risk becoming obsolete. The financial landscape transformed into a hybrid of traditional and digital systems, with XRP at the forefront of this evolution. The world had entered a new era of financial prosperity and inclusivity, and XRP stood as a symbol of the power of innovation in reshaping the global economy. The success of XRP was not just a story of a digital currency, it was a testament to the transformative potential of blockchain technology and the ability of visionary companies to drive positive change on a global scale.
Early stages of this technology, and I really want to provide some examples of that. It generally takes about 25 to 30 years for human beings to adopt a new data transfer technology. Radio was invented in 1890, but wasn't commercially available until the 1920s. TV was developed in the 1920s, but wasn't in homes until the 1950s. Email was invented in 1969, but most of you most likely didn't have an email address until 1997. There is one that I really want to focus on, and that's TCP/IP, which is the internet, for those that don't know. It was developed as a DARPA project in 1970, but it wasn't really commercially accepted until 1995 when it was rolled out with Windows 95. There's another important date, which is 1983. 1983 is when TCP/IP was accepted as the standard protocol for internet development, 13 years after it was created. Well, here we are, 13 years after Bitcoin was created, and we're just now starting to talk about standardization. This is not a coincidence. Adoption at this stage is not a technology problem, it's a human conditioning issue. Every 13-year-old in the United States has only existed in a world where Bitcoin has existed. 3 years from now, every 16-year-old will have only existed in a world where Bitcoin has existed. 16 years old is an important date because it's generally when someone becomes interested in becoming a developer. They are the adoption layer. We here in this room, we're the infrastructure layer. It's our responsibility to create an environment where every 13-year-old American has a framework upon which they can build the next world on. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
What's up, guys? If you enjoyed that video, make sure to like and subscribe. It's really going to help this channel out so much. Also, I do live streams now on this channel, so if you don't want to miss out on those, make sure you turn notifications on and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss out to ask me any questions you have live. If you're looking for a good place to buy XRP or want to be entered into a massive giveaway, make sure to sign up with Uphold using the link in the description of this video. Guys, Uphold is coming to the end of their 100,000 XRP giveaway. If you are not entered into that yet, go sign up with Uphold using the link in the description of this video. With that said though, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and for now, Mickle out.